I remember one day I was leaving and I was just feeling like this ain't it. Like, I just felt like this is not what I wanted to do, but I also knew I didn't want to go back to the building. And I just had this moment of clarity. And in that moment, I was like, Joy, you know exactly what you're looking for. It does not exist. You need to create it. Sometimes we're so like locked into the dollar that we don't realize that the value that we have when we remove the dollar is just so great. I just kind of create the space, and they're gonna be attracted to the space, and they're gonna want to stay in the space. Kind of like a butterfly, right? You don't trap a butterfly. You create the environment that a butterfly wants to be in, and they're gonna pull up and they're gonna stay in your garden. There's no fence or leash that you could have for a butterfly, but if you create the right space, they will willingly come and willingly stay.
How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the Gil Podcast. This podcast is about me, Gil, and the things that I'm currently obsessed with. On today's podcast episode, I have a wonderful guest, somebody who has been inspiring me, motivating me, promoting me, and just putting me in places where I thought I never would be. And she's phenomenal. Joy Sinclair.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Gas me up, Gil.
How you doing, Joy?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be in the Gil Podcast.
Yeah, we've been trying to have this episode for like a hot minute.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. But you're busy.
So are you.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
You are very busy too. Yeah. But yes, we're both very busy people.
That's good. So how are you?
I am well, excited. It's been a good month, good year. So,
So Joy, are you a creative?
I am a creative.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what do you do to like call yourself a creative? Like, because I see you do so many different things. Like you're hosting classes on Canva. You're teaching people how to do reels. But what is like something that you do like for yourself that is like creative?
I think it's whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like if I have a vision, if I have an idea, I just kind of think of a way to do that thing, and I do that thing. And I think a lot of times people who say they're not creative are misunderstanding that with like, you're trapped in your thing that you can't do, so you can't do the things that you want to do. And so you're mislabeling that as not creative. But we're all creative. It's just, do you give yourself permission to play out that creativity? And I think I do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, because of that, that's how we met.
Yes!
Because you had a creative idea of like something outlandish. I want to do a podcast outside. Get somebody. And
I got you.
Yeah, you got me.
And now you can't get rid of me. Now we're locked in.
It's crazy. But that is so cool. You don't really believe in boundaries as far as like things that you can do.
Yeah. I'm really heavy on, that quote that says, if you say you can, if you say you can't, either way you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's in all caps in my head at all times.
That's dope. So tell us about CoSpace. Because you are the owner of CoSpace.
I am. I'm the owner and founder of CoSpace. We are a Black-owned content creation and co-working studio right in Miami Gardens, which is the largest predominantly Black city in the entire state of Florida.
Wow.
So we are a co-working space where you can come, be productive, and have meetings, host events, host workshops, like you had a workshop there. I also host classes and workshops. We have a podcast studio where you can also book Gil. And we do content creation. There's a mini art gallery. It's just a hub for Black business owners, creatives, and entrepreneurs to have a space to be creative and to get things done.
The thing I like about CoSpace is it's when you walk in there, it's just like an energy. Like
yes,
like a vibe.
It is.
You just walk in there and then people are just collaborating. It's almost unreal.
And I love it. Yeah. And it's very intentional.
Yes.
So that's when people are always, I think that's the biggest thing people are shocked about is the collaborations that happen at CoSpace. So other spaces you might go and work and everyone's kind of like siloed. Everyone has their head down. They're minding their own business. And at CoSpace, we're collabing. We're talking. If I see someone who I think needs to connect, I'm connecting y'all. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the not so secret sauce about CoSpace is the collaborations that's happening there.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the co's in CoSpace. Co-work, content, and collaboration.
I didn't know that. That is so sick. Yeah.
I love it.
So what was your vision for CoSpace when you initially started it?
So funny story. When I first started CoSpace, I was thinking it would be halfway co-working and then the other half would be like content creation, booths and backdrops and things like that. So when I first started CoSpace, it was just split down the middle. So I had actually backdrops set up where people can always do content. And then I had like a table or two for co-working. And people would start to come and they would take advantage of both sides. But then the co-working side was a little tight. Like people would come there, just want to stay and work all day. But there was only 2 tables.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I'll take one backdrop down and add one more table. And then you can see where this is going. Because now if you come inside CoSpace, the whole thing is for co-working.
Yep.
And we have days for content creation, or you can make it do what it do. But now the whole thing is for co-working.
Yeah.
So originally my vision was that middle ground of content creation and being able to sit and be productive. But then I realized more and more that people needed a space to sit and work. So I adapted.
And the thing about you that I love is that you're always adapting to the needs
Oh,
of
yes.
people at CoSpace. Because I'm pretty sure podcast was not in.
It was not.
It was not.
It was not. Originally, that little room was going to be my office so that I can work and like have a space to be. But then I was realizing, because I love podcasts. And people always say there's a podcast for everything. And I think that's a great thing.
Yes.
It's like you can find whatever, like niche down all the way, something that you're very interested in. And then you're going to find somebody else who's also interested in with a good mic and good lighting.
I got into podcasting like around 2007, whenever it was available. But then I learned about podcast production in 2013, 2014.
Wow.
By listening to a podcast teaching you how to do everything.
Right. And they used to be called vlogs back in the day. So this is nothing new, but now they're all into it. It's a better name for it. But
there's nothing new under the sun. Like people have always been telling their stories. Like if you looked at the Egyptian hieroglyph, those are podcasts. Those are podcasts. The Egyptians were podcasting.
I love it.
Yeah, right.
I love it.
So,
and I'm definitely going to steal that for sure.
Yeah,
yes.
steal it. Take it.
So then I was thinking, wouldn't it be dope if I had a space for my people to do a podcast? And when you think about podcasting, any person with a good mic and good lights can start one anywhere, but a lot of people don't have the skill set. Like if y'all can see this room, this is amazing. But a lot of people can't do that, so they have to go somewhere and create their own or book studio time, which is very expensive. It's not always welcoming. It's not always inclusive. And most of the times you come to a space, it's a room and they're like, good luck, don't bother me. And they take your money. Yeah. So I wanted to create a space that felt like CoSpace, but for the podcasters.
Yeah.
So my office became a podcast studio.
and also I feel like you're very intentional too with the people that you end up working with, because you did bring up the fact that there are a lot of other podcast spaces that like, just come in and just leave me alone and you rent the room. And then there's no collaboration. There's no support, nothing. And I've been to those spaces and it's very daunting. It's like,
and you know what you're doing.
And it's like, whoa, what's going on here?
So picture other people who have no idea what they're doing and they just show up with an idea and then they immediately realize they're in over their head or they don't know what they're doing. And then they never record. They never get that message out. And a lot of podcasts, it's something that's inside you that you need to get out. And if you don't get it out, who knows what could happen? Exactly.
And that's another thing, too, that I love about CoSpace. Again, just bringing up CoSpace. If CoSpace didn't happen, this type of collaboration that we have wouldn't happen. And the people that I've met there, those connections wouldn't happen. So it's all about taking action. That idea you have, just go. And
you've met so many people at CoSpace.
So many people. I've met the mayor of Miami through a collaboration with CoSpace. Podcasting outdoors.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
I love it.
Who does that? Joy does. That's awesome. So what is something that you would want to see come from CoSpace like in the near future? Do you have any more plans that you want to do? Like any exciting stuff?
Well, I'm always excited. There's always something happening. Every time people ask about like what's in the future for CoSpace, they're always like, are you going to make more? Are you going to expand? And maybe I will one day, but I'm having a lot of fun in the space that we're in right now. But for me, the most exciting thing is seeing the collaborations, seeing these new businesses, new joint ventures that are starting just because 2 people were at CoSpace at the same time.
Yeah.
So like even like the scent I'm wearing right now is a collaboration from Vive Essentials and Place of Aroma, who are 2 people who did not know each other, but they were at CoSpace at the same time. I don't even know how they started talking. And now they have a whole line that they've created together.
That's amazing.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. And you did that. That's just having the space for these people to come and then feel safe, comfortable, and just create.
Yeah. There's this quote that I don't remember the origin of it, but it says that the rich turn to the arts because all their basic needs are met. And I was like, I don't even know why that resonated with me, but it did, because sometimes people will have you think that Black people aren't creative, right?
Yeah.
Or that hood people aren't creative. And it's like, we are,
Yeah.
but we got to stay alive.
Yeah, exactly.
We have all these other
Yep.
things that we have to worry about. So we can't turn to the arts, right? But once your needs are met, you can be creative. You can turn to the arts. So even though I can't solve everybody's problem, while you're inside of CoSpace, your basic needs are met. So you can actually like drop your shoulders and be creative or be productive or just do something else for that hour or 2 or 5 that you're sitting inside of CoSpace.
That's amazing. I love that. And we've talked about CoSpace in nauseam. I could talk about it forever. I talk about it to people who don't even know about CoSpace who live in Fort Lauderdale, Broward. Can we talk about the infancy stages, like the beginning stages? Like, how did it come up? Like,
okay, let's
talk
get
about
it.
The story, how it's all started.
So I was working for an amazing company when the pandemic first started, and I just found out I was pregnant, and I'm a cancer survivor. Yay!
Hey.
So my boss, who's a really good boss, was like, hey, this whole COVID thing is happening, and maybe you should work from home for like a week or 2 while this whole thing blows over, and then you come back.
Yeah.
And we all know that. We all know there was more than a week.
Yeah.
So at first, working from home was lit.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, the commute, can't beat it.
Mm-hmm.
I can stay home. You know, I can be fun. I don't have to get all dressed up. And then after like a couple of weeks, it was not lit.
Yeah.
I wanted my job out of my house.
Yeah.
I worked so hard, this clear line of distinction between work and home. And now the job is in my house. And I did not like it. So once it was safe to go outside, I started looking into co-working because I didn't want to go back to the building, but I also didn't want it in my house anymore. Yeah. So then I started going to places, and most of the co-working is like Wynwood, you know, deep inside Miami. And you go inside a place, you're the only Black person, right? Which is never fun. Or you go somewhere and they're playing house music and you really can't focus. Or you go into a place and you have all of their attention or none of their attention, but both for the wrong reason. And then there's that other level of just driving from Miami. So when you're in Miami, if you don't leave by like 2 p.m., you might as well start your new life there because the traffic is insane. You're not going to make it home. Yeah. So I remember one day I was leaving and I was just feeling like this ain't it. Like I just felt like this is not what I wanted to do, but I also knew I didn't want to go back to the building. I had this whole moment driving in traffic and I just had this moment of clarity. And in that moment, I was like, Joy, you know exactly what you're looking for. It does not exist. You need to create it. Yeah. And you know when you have that voice, you know the voice. Yes. Because there's no...
It's Morgan Freeman.
Yes! It's Morgan Freeman in your head. So you know you have to listen. And I listened. Yeah. And I took a bet on myself. I know I had the basic logistics to carry this kind of thing out. So I was like, I'm going to take a bet on myself. I'm going to do it. Yeah. And here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of us don't listen to that voice. A lot of us listen to other voices that are around us.
Yep.
What do you think about that? People listen to the people around them more versus their inner child or their inner voice.
We've been trained to not listen to our inner voice for a lot of different reasons, right? If you're from certain areas, they told you it's demonic, right? Right? Or also, you know, we doubt ourselves so much. We doubt our ability so much. But your inner voice knows that you about that life. So your inner voice has no doubt, but we doubt ourselves, right? And
your
then
inner voice doesn't doubt you.
It doesn't because it knows what you could do.
Crazy.
Right. Your inner voice knows what you can do, but we have been trained not to listen to it. So sometimes when you hear that voice, you're like, nah, I can't do that. Yeah. No, I'm not. I can't. I'm not that good. Yeah. And then it just not go away. Yeah. So even if you can identify that it's Morgan Freeman telling you something, you know, so even if you have any doubt, you always know because the message just keeps coming and keep coming. Whatever that thing is that you can't shake, do the thing. You have to do it.
Just do the thing. Listen to the voice. It's not doubting you. We're doubting ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. I love that. I'm going to steal that.
You can have it.
Okay. That's
it's
awesome.
A trade.
Yeah, it's a trade. Yeah. And that's another thing about CoSpace too is bartering.
Yes.
So there's a bartering event. Can you talk about that?
I will.
Look at me with these segues.
Come on. This is amazing. Yeah. You're doing really good. Yeah. So we have this event called Barter and Build. And the premise is it's a networking event, but your goal is to make deals and collaborations, but no money is being exchanged. Yeah. Everything is bartering. So bartering is like Black Root 101, right? Because when you think about our ancestors, if you had goats, if you were herding goats, right? And I was growing kale, we would swap.
Yeah.
And then we both have a good meal,
Yep.
right? Or when you think just traditionally, like growing up as a kid, my mom can sew. So she would make somebody's curtains in exchange for them fixing our plumbing,
That works.
So
Yeah.
bartering is deep in our soul, right? And once again, we've been trained to doubt these things, right?
Yeah.
So going back to like the history of bartering, when you think about it, as more people began to trade who were not familiar with the land, they didn't understand the value of a goat compared to cabbage or whatever you're trading it for. So then they developed, a singular form of currency, and you can track that back, and then the dollar was created eventually, right?
Yeah.
So we're going back to the bartering part. So if you are a person who is starting a business, has a business, you have a service you can offer, you need to be here, because now you're going to find other things that you need. You literally create your shopping list and go through that list and find people who are going to work with you because they want to work with you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when it comes to bartering as business owners, we don't want to like disrespect anybody, right? So like if you're offering something and I'm like, I'll trade you, that could go left, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty of barter and build is everyone in that room is there to barter.
Yep.
So the ice is already broken. You don't have to worry about offending anybody or offering something and the person's like, I don't want that. No, everyone in the room has one goal, and it's how can I work with you by trading a service or something that I can offer.
Yeah. So. And I think in the content creator space, that doesn't really exist, but it low-key does.
It should.
Yeah,
it should exist more.
Yeah, because I started bartering with content creators years ago. Guys would be like industry professionals, hey, I don't know how to use this camera. Can you come and show me? I'll let you borrow this expensive camera. You show me how to use it. And then I'm like, okay, this is a $3,000 camera. I don't know. Yeah, I'll show you how to use it. Yeah, just borrow it anytime. And then I ended up having it.
Yes.
Or a situation where people come in, they need this podcast. They need a podcast space. Okay, cool. Come in, podcast, record here. I'll edit your clips for you. Then I'll use their services. In the content creator space, it happens a lot, but like you said, it needs to happen way more.
Yes.
Cameras, lights, they're expensive. This whole setup is really expensive.
We're in a multi-million-dollar space right now,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. And it's like, if I could help somebody and they help me, like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, that's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Especially as businesses, because sometimes capital is an issue, right? Sometimes we don't have the financial resources, but if you are a podcast engineer, right? If you know, like, there's no piece of tech that Gil can't figure out, right?
Yeah.
That's a currency.
Yeah.
That is a currency. So sometimes we're so like locked into the dollar that we don't realize that the value that we have when we remove the dollar is just so great.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. A lot of people are too worried about the dollar. So when that becomes like, that's the toxic voice.
Yes.
Like that's the
that is not Morgan Freeman. He would never.
Who is that? That's the evil Dave Chappelle. So you gonna take it? $20? That's the evil voice. Yeah, I feel like most people should definitely listen to the good voice and not the bad voice. But I think the bad voice is so loud because it's all over social media.
Yeah,
it's like sell. Like so recently I created a course. I created a iPhone, teach you how to use an iPhone to podcast.
I saw that.
Yeah. So I had somebody tell me I need to charge expeditiously for it. I need to do this, do that. I was like, this is something that somebody can just Google or ask ChatGPT. Like I'll feel
even though it's not, but okay.
Yeah, even though it's not, but I kind of feel like if I'm teaching somebody how to do something, they'll really appreciate it. It's like, this guy taught me how to do this. Maybe he could help me out with this something else.
Yeah, that's the long game.
Yeah, and it has happened where people, well, I do a podcast with using an iPhone. Do you know how to do podcasts with cameras? Yeah, I actually do. And then they find my YouTube channel. Holy crap.
Now they're locked in.
Yeah, now I'm locked in. Like this afternoon, actually, I'm going to Brickell to build a podcast studio space off of the back of me doing the iPhone course. Somebody saw my iPhone course. They went through it, told their friend about it, and that friend has now hired me to build a podcast space. And is like, okay, if I charge the person initially, I'm not gonna pay for that.
That's
and then
true.
They'll feel locked. They'll feel what do you call that? Gatekeep. I'm not gonna tell anybody about it because I paid for it.
That's
but lock
true.
it in. So it's just like selfishness almost always creates just a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
scarcity mindset,
Yeah. That's so true. A lot of people are just very lacking, not needing to share.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to CoSpace,
Yeah, literally.
but I feel like that's part of the vibe check that we talk about at CoSpace, because when you walk in CoSpace, everyone's always like, what can I give? What can I share? How can I help people? And it's the same mindset, because when you open, you know how they say a closed fist, that thing goes out, but nothing comes in.
Like,
so,
and the joke that I've seen multiple times about CoSpace is, you can't leave.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's no, y'all, I'm out. See you. No, it's like,
it's a process.
It's like, it's so beautiful. Like, I've seen multiple people, y'all, I'm out. Hey, nice to meet you, Gil. And they're just standing by the door.
Yeah.
Like,
they can't leave.
They can't leave. And it's just, oh wow, this is great.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That never gets old.
It's amazing. Do you vet people?
Unofficially. So the only rule at CoSpace, the only rule, got to pass the vibe check. That's the only rule at CoSpace, right? And so I find that when the way I'm so intentional, the design, the setup, everything we offer, anyone I do choose to work with, it's like you have to kind of, that energy, right? And sometimes when people come in who are not a part of that, they're not passing the vibe check, they kind of self-select out. Because think about it. You love the space because you passed the vibe check.
I live here, and I would drive there. I would literally just drive to CoSpace. There's been a couple of times where you've said, "Hey, Gil, can you just set up a C-stand?" Yeah, I'm
he
going.
Came.
I'm just going.
I love.
I'll just go.
I love it.
Yeah.
But it's because you passed the vibe check.
Yeah.
So if you were a person who's negative, or a person who always feels like got to work in silent, don't talk to people, you're not going to like CoSpace. You're going to come in here and be like, what is wrong with all these people?
Yeah.
And I think that self-selection is very critical to the vibe. But it also allows us to kind of like filter out who's in the space and who has access to the space without having to do anything.
Yeah.
By being so intentional in the vibe that I've created, the people who are not supposed to be there will not want to be there.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't have to do anything. So when it comes to like selecting who I want to work with, who I want to like have the relationship with, I just kind of create the space, and they're gonna be attracted to the space, and they're gonna want to stay in the space. Kind of like a butterfly, right? You don't trap a butterfly. You create the environment that a butterfly wants to be in, and they're gonna pull up and they're gonna stay in your garden. There's no fence or leash that you could have for a butterfly, but if you create the right space, they will willingly come and willingly stay. So that's how we are at CoSpace.
I love that. I'm gonna take that concept too, because there are a lot of times, creators, we willingly want to share and grow with other people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have nefarious reasons for like collaborating.
And sometimes they're not wrong. Sometimes they something has happened to make them like that, and it's a protective measure. But like my therapist has told me before that sometimes we have these measures in place that were useful at the time, but are no longer useful, right? But we haven't let it go, So what has protected you in the past, or what has helped you in the past, it worked in that moment, but is that still a tool you need to be using? Probably not.
That's interesting. Speaking of tools, let's talk about AI. Look at that segue.
You're really killing these segues.
So what are your thoughts? First, what are your thoughts on AI?
I think AI is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
I think that it's so much more powerful than we are using it for at the moment. But I also think that AI is supposed to be your assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find that sometimes people will let AI speak for them and create for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, it really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Like if I have my assistant, I would have her go do the research.
Yeah.
I might have her put some things together, but I would never send her to go speak for me.
Yeah.
Right. But I think people are sending AI to go and speak for them. And that's the issue. That's what's the people who don't like AI, that's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that we tend to use it in the wrong way and then overuse it in that way.
Yeah, that's true too. I had a client who was like so against AI and doing things like the traditional way, editing with Photoshop and doing all this other stuff. And I was like, Photoshop is AI. A lot of the tools we're using,
yes,
Canva is AI. So my client basically, what she was annoyed of and fearful of is the overusage of AI and it being used in times where it doesn't really need to be used.
Yep.
And the way I've always considered AI a tool, and literally in my head, I see a hammer.
Yeah.
So it's like AI is really just a sledgehammer.
Yep. And you're using it to like unscrew a Phillips head.
Yeah. And it's like you're using it to like unscrew a Phillips head or like bang like a little picture on the wall. You can literally not have to use it. But what tools do you use to edit or create?
So I keep it very simple, as you know. So I am heavy on the Edits app now in Instagram. Before that, I would typically edit directly in Instagram. Like, I try to keep things very simple because if it's simple, you can be consistent.
For me, I use Final Cut Pro. So I use the Edits app too, but I've been editing since I was a kid, like using Microsoft's Movie Maker. Like, I've been editing like years. So I know a lot of like tools and tricks so I can do something really, really fast. But I love the Edits tool. But I do get like, I want to bash my head into the wall when I can't do certain things. So I just open up Final Cut Pro or CapCut and I just whip it up real quick. So it's fast for me.
Yeah.
And but to me, at the same time, I'm always bewildered and amazed, like, wow, this used to take me forever. I made this little funny meme of an assistant running to me to give the battery. And I was like, this would take me forever to key. Keying is when you match the word with the person and it follows it.
And now it's nothing.
And now it's literally
you just
nothing.
Click a thing and tell it what to do.
Hey, follow this person. Word, follow that person. And it did it. And I was just...
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Like, for me, I really appreciate, because I grew up super poor. So like all the software I've had growing up to edit videos, photos, I stole it. It was all like pirated stuff. I'm not ashamed to say I pay for stuff.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. I was... I was an illegal immigrant too, so it's not. I probably would have.
Now ICE is going to come to the studio.
Open up. So it's like I've always like struggled to like learn how to use Photoshop, and I learned it, and now it's like you don't really have to learn it. You just could literally
see. But that's your superpower is the fact that you learn these things. You can figure almost anything out. Yeah. And then you have these simpler versions of tools that you can easily use because if you can do all of that, Edits app is nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it's faster.
It is.
It's lighter.
It's on the phone.
It's on your phone. Yeah. You can do it real quick. And I think it's very helpful when you can do both.
Yes.
So for me, I went to a magnet school for middle school and high school, and I was in TV production. Oh yes, yes. And I was in TV production, and my favorite thing to do was edit videos.
Yeah.
So I used to love editing. And now when I'm doing these reels, I'm like, that reminds me of...
it brings you back.
Right, minus the rendering. There's no, no rendering. But yes, so I feel like when we have these skill sets and then there's an easier version available, you're just going to be better at the easier version. So you haven't lost anything.
Yeah, no, it just feels really... I don't know, therapeutic. It's like, look how far I've come, or look how far technology has come.
Both.
Yeah, it's just... really amazing. Oh man, this was great.
Yay.
This is really good. Thanks, Joy. You have any questions for me?
Of course.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Yes. Now it's the Joy Show. Yeah. Welcome. So I met Gil because he did a podcast for my sister, or my sister was on a podcast or something, and she was like, "You need to lock in with Gil. He's amazing," right?
Every time you tell me the story, I just see her screaming on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The second she got in the car, she's like, find a way to work with him, especially because I had the idea for the 5-minute podcast, which we didn't talk about, but we could circle back. So my question for you is like, what is your dream project? What's next for you? Every time I look, you're doing something new, something cool. So but these are things that we're all asking you to do.
Yes.
So like, if you were frolicking in a field with all the tech you could, like, what would be the thing that you want to do?
Oh, a short film. Like literally yesterday, me and my wife were walking to Loxahatchee, like a preserve. And we were just walking. And I was like, man, I haven't shot a short film in forever. Me and my friend Anton and Willie, we would shoot short films years ago. There's like a tiny white camera right there. I don't know if you can see it. But anyways, that was like my first camera that I got. It was like the $300 camera that I found at a thrift store. And it was for $20.
Wow.
So I used that $20 camera to shoot short films years ago with my friends. And I haven't done one in forever.
You have to do it.
Yeah, I know. I have like, remember the script that I texted you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you could, I have all of these ideas.
It's so random and I loved it.
It was so, I was like, hope she don't think I'm weird.
I love it.
I literally just sent her a movie script and I'm like, why did I do that?
I love it.
'Cause-
TV production. I love writing scripts. I love reading scripts, especially when that script format. Like,
so I would love to do like a short film, horror thriller. One of my friends and clients, Coach Cass, I made a post on my story. She's like, what would you film here? Because I said, I want to film something here. She's like, what would you film here? I said, a romantic thriller. she's like, what? Just something I would love to just get back in there and create. Because what to me, filming a video or short film, it's extremely collaborative.
Yeah.
You have actors, you have sound design, you have location scouting, you have assistants. It's a whole production behind the production. Yeah, and then I get to do it with friends or people. So you're really just hanging out. And then you put it all together. I love that.
So what's the production going to be about? What's the movie going to be?
There's so many. I have so many script ideas. Like, I love horror movies. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, big time. I'm a big.
This is shocking, Gil.
Oh yeah, I listen to horror podcasts.
Oh no.
No, I'm so serious. Like, my favorite podcast is by Glenn Washington. He has a podcast called Spooked, and the Spooked is like what is called that when it's a word that means another word too?
Double entendre.
Double entendre. So, because Spooked is also a racial slur for.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is.
So he's a Black guy, and he has people share stories, ghost stories, paranormal story. I love all that stuff.
Really?
And especially with the sound design, like you're telling a story and all that. Movies, I love horror movies. I love thrillers. For me, it's like, how did they shoot that?
Yeah. I do that too.
Oh, I know how to do that. I know how to do that now. Okay, cool. I see how they levitated this
But
person.
for me, it's a coping mechanism. When I'm watching a movie that's too scary, my brain will say, okay, here's how they broke that down.
No.
So that way I'm not scared.
Yeah. And I remember years ago, I was like on a date with some random person, and we were watching a horror movie, and I was like, I grew up Seventh-day Adventist Christian, so I still believe windows is the windows. Your eyes are the windows to your soul. So watching something demonic, it's bad.
You gotta close your eyes.
So I'm not closing my eyes. I'm like, man, this theater's huge. Look at this theater. This theater, it holds 72 people, but they got 30 people in here.
It's the Gil inner voice. That's hilarious.
And I'm just like looking around, but you can't tell that I'm moving my head. I'm just like moving my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at the screen. So for me, I would shoot a horror movie, but I love romantic movies. I actually wrote a couple of like light eroticas. I do. Gil is the most random person, and I love it.
Yeah,
I'm so like, so I created a podcast planner on Amazon. Then I did like a word search book, and I was like, well, I should write a story about myself. It's like, no, you're gonna write an erotica. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
All right, whatever you say.
I guess I'll do that. And I'm just so random. But for me, as far as like to answer the question, it would be a thriller horror movie.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's earlier when we were talking about like being creative. I feel like that's you giving yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we call random, it's really you listening to your creative self and just doing it.
Yeah.
I say this all the time, but it's like we second guess ourselves so much, right?
Yep.
And then we also like downplay ourselves so much. And then we don't really listen. But the bigger thing is we're so afraid to like try something. We're so afraid to take a chance. And if you look at it like statistically, you've survived everything that you have been through so far. You're just still here. So it's like when you think about
that's my quote that I say to myself too.
Right.
Like no, literally, I would say you've been through worse.
Yes.
It's from one of my favorite animes.
And you're still here.
Yeah.
So it's like statistically speaking, it's 100% chance that you're going to survive whatever happens next. Yeah. So if you really think about that and just think about like the historical data is telling you you're going to do it and you're going to do it well, we would take more chances. We would take more risks. We would do the weird thing, but we don't. But we should.
Yeah. Like, so crazy. I remember when I got that camera and I went through it. There was like no YouTube back. There was YouTube, but it wasn't the way that it was back in the day. So I'm learning how to use this camera. I maxed out everything about it. Like I learned everything that I needed to learn about video. And I was like, this camera's holding me back. And I had to like me and my wife went to BJ's and she's like, you sure you want to spend $300 on a camera? $300 was a lot back then. And this was like at BJ's and we're like, I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to get this camera. $300. This is like,
and now look at you.
And it's like, I have a $2,700 camera with like $4,000 lenses, and
Isn't this crazy?
it's insane. It's crazy because now I'm thinking back in the day, I wasn't scared of nobody's scared of their wives, but they don't want to like annoy or put them in a predicament, or their partner, husband or wife. And I was like, I don't want to bother her with my creative needs. Like we could literally use the $300 to go out for a nice dinner, but I'm gonna buy a camera at BJ's. Well, what am I doing here? Like I should just say no. And then I told her, no, let's get this camera. I'm gonna learn it. And then I learned that camera maybe within a year and a half, and then upgraded to a $1,500 camera like soon after.
And now it's a whole income stream.
Yes.
That I'm sure your family is loving now, and it's like
it's crazy
because you just took a chance on your creative self.
Yeah, took a chance, and it's like mostly I don't really shoot that much, like photo shoots.
Not anymore.
I mean, I still get people to hit me up, and I'll just refer them to somebody else. Like,
that's crazy.
No, I'm so serious. Like,
so now you're more into video.
Yeah, now I'm more into video, but I'm also more into consultations. Like most of my bag that I get money from is consulting, where either I'm going to CoSpace, or I'm waking up super early to somebody in like Sweden because we're doing a Zoom call, or
I love it.
FaceTime call. So it's more so the experience that I've gained by just buying the camera, buying the podcast mics, learning how to use it. That has made me way more money than like me taking pictures.
I love that.
Yeah.
I find that you are often like me with I'm going to figure it out.
Yes.
Because even when we first met and I was telling you my concept for the 5-minute podcast, right?
I had no idea what I was doing.
So this is I think it was like our first phone call.
Yes.
And I'm explaining to Gil, I'm like, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to take the podcast studio and I want to record outside. And he was like, outside? I'm like, yeah, in a field.
And I was like, sure.
You're like, who is this?
Yeah.
And so you get there and we're in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a field and you figured it out. We had minimal power setup.
Yep.
We had a janky Wi-Fi tower that I was fighting with when you pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
And look at this.
You probably don't notice, but that was our most intricate setup because I had a monitor.
Oh yeah, you did.
I had like a bunch of stuff. And because I was so,
you had no idea what you're walking into.
I was so worried. I was like, oh, let me just bring everything just in case. And
that is true.
Yeah, so it was.
Now he has like one suitcase.
Yeah, just like one suitcase. I'm like,
recently we were in a garage. Remember that? We were in
no, it was hot.
We were in a garage.
Yeah.
And the power kept cutting off every time you plugged the light in. And we had no support, everything. It was a very interesting day.
Yeah.
And Gil never complains, even though I could look in his face and he just want to get out of there. But
yeah, no, it was just, to me, it's just, you ever heard